What's up, guys, and welcome to the channel. This is Tyler Tope. On the channel, we talk a lot about intentional parenting, living an intentional life, being really mindful of the things you're doing. Today, I've got one that I honestly don't know if I made the right choice on. I take being a father very, very serious. It's, I believe, the most important job I have. There's no playbook for it, and every kid is different and unique. And so, what works with some kids as far as punishment or discipline just doesn't work with some of your other kids. And we have three, and they're all unique and different. So here a few weeks ago, I actually took a pretty controversial approach. I shared that on X today, and I was wanting to share that with you guys, get your takes. And look, I'm a guy who doesn't entrench, never say that my way is the best or this or that. I'm just trying to share the journey, get a little bit better. So I'd like to share with you today a little bit of a controversial parenting take that I took with one of my sons, and see what you guys think about it. I'd actually love a lot of feedback on this one and to get some smarter people's advice than mine. Again, I take being a dad really serious. Think it's the most important job I have. So come along for the ride today. Let's dive in together. So my wife and I went into marriage, and we were told by a couple doctors early on that she wouldn't be able to get pregnant. So we'd always had the idea of adopting and fostering and things like that on our mind. Lo and behold, then we get pregnant on the honeymoon. So shows what some of them know, right? So yeah, anyway, we get kind of thrust into this. It was a really kind of difficult baby that came out for the first 6 or 7 months of her life. But after that, our daughter is probably the most compliant child. She's moved up in grades. She's reading at levels 3 and 4 years ahead. She's taken advanced math classes. She loves coding. She was the kind of kid who, if you told her once, don't cross the road, you never had to worry about her crossing the road. That's just, she's always been kind of a rule follower. I think my wife has way been more of a rule follower than me. I'm not the guy that follow on me. You tell me not to cross the road. The first thing I'm probably going to do when you turn your back is cross the road. That's kind of who I've been. My daughter was not like that. You could get her toys and she would just play with them and learn. And, that's just who she was. So we thought we were kind of genius parents, man. We're like, we got this on lockdown, right? We tell her to do something, she does something. We're patting ourselves on the back, right? Then we get our amazing two sons, Kingston and Tyson. And, it's just awesome. Raising boys is a totally different dynamic than raising girls. May not be popular to say here in 2024 when we're all supposed to be the same or some weird thing like that. But from my experience, just raising sons is much different. The energy level, the activity level, they always want to wrestle and fight and push boundaries and things like that. And so it's been different raising them. A real easy example here is, my wife recently got a little partnership. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Fatheads, but we got these for our sons sent to us, man. I think these are crazy. We were going to put them up, on their walls. So we hand them to our boys, and the first thing they do is literally start beating each other over the head with them. And so we had to take them away and be like, all right, we can't have you like hitting each other's eyes out with these. But that tends to be how things happen in our house. And so it's a different parenting approach. And so I'll set the stage here real quick about what happened, and it's a real kind of short story, and then I'd like you guys' take on it as well. So my son Tyson is the guy who, man, he's an amazing kid. I truly believe it's kids like him that are going to grow into adults if they're nurtured right and change the world. He doesn't color inside the lines. He has to find out everything for himself. An easy example of this is at 18 months, I'm walking with both my sons hand in hand. And I point out to them, hey guys, be very careful by this area. These are thorn bushes, they're cactuses, and if you touch them, they'll give you boo-boos. Instantly, my son Kingston hugs me tighter and takes a step closer, almost, hey, I don't want any part of that, right? I don't want boo-boos. Tyson legitimately looks me in the eye, looks at that cactus, and goes, shh. Boo-boo, boo-boo. He just had to know. He had to know. And that kind of sums up Tyson. We call him our little Navy SEAL. He's just curious about how everything works and wants to know how, is obsessed with learning and just knowing how everything works and why. I think that's an awesome trait. Don't ever want to squash that and diminish it. It's a little exhausting for parents sometimes. It can be probably hard on his siblings as he pushes a lot of boundaries and things, but he's just a really special and unique kid. He jumps in our pool in winter when it's like, cold. He does cold plunges and he just swims. And we ask him, like, buddy, are you cold? He says, yeah. He just keeps swimming. He's like a little Navy SEAL. That's why we call him that. But that sets the tone for who he is. So anyway, our family's really big into walks. I talk about this a lot on my social media, man. I think it's one of the best things we do as parents. Get my kids outside and moving. I'll often create a little list. We'll have like a little scavenger hunt when we go for walks, or the kids will take scooters or bikes, and we just kind of go around the neighborhood. We do this a lot. Well, here a month or so ago, Tyson started, I don't know how he even learned this or why, but every time that he'd be on scooters and they would too, he'd speed ahead and cut him off and stop. And so, my daughter would have to slam on her brakes. My son King would have to slam on his brake, and they got really frustrated. And I saw this time and time again. And so the first few times it happened, I just tried to give him a, hey, buddy, stop. Like that, you're ruining nobody's having fun. Nobody likes that. And he, kind of, okay. 5 minutes later, do it again. So then I got a little more stern. I got down on his level and I warned him and said, buddy, look, you're ruining the walk. Your sister's frustrated. She said she didn't even want to come a couple times after this repeatedly kept happening. They're having to slam on their brakes if they're on their bikes or scooters or even walking. He would just run in front and then put his arms out and stop them. And, it didn't make sense to me, but I tried to get on his level, tried to warn him. Me and my wife kind of got together. We said, okay, if he does it again on this walk, we'll warn him before we go on the walk. If he does it, he goes straight home. He goes to timeout. He loses some privileges. He did all those things and he just kept doing it. And so now we're, 15 to 20 walks in, and my other two kids are saying, Dad, I don't want to go. If Tyson's going, I don't want to go. And so this became a really hard thing as a parent. What do you do, right? And I'm just from the school and the belief I'm not going to hit my kids. I know some people really believe in spanking and that. I'm just not one. I believe as a dad, it's my duty to not be emotional, to always be in control of my emotions and teach my kids that, yes, I'm way bigger than you, but I don't need to dominate you with force. I want to have a calm mind and lead my sons, especially into seeing that. So hitting was never an option. So me and my wife talk about it. What do we do? So I came up with this as a dad. I don't know if other moms might like this, but I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit down the three kids before our next walk. And I'm going to get on their level and look them all in the eye. And I'm going to say, listen, Tyson, I need you to hear this. I am giving your brother and your sister permission. And by the way, his sister is older and much bigger and stronger. I said, I'm giving them permission if you cut them off to not slow down. In fact, the other way. I said, Tinley and Kingston, I want you to speed up and hit him as hard as you can. I want you to knock him over. And then I don't want you to feel bad about it. You won't be in trouble. This is the lesson you're going to learn. Tyson, do you understand this? Do you understand what's going to happen? If you cut them off, I am giving them permission to knock you over. And I told him, buddy, you're going to get hurt. You're going to bleed. And I had to add in there's going to be no Band-Aids. If you ever raised toddler boys, man, getting a Spider-Man Band-Aid is a pretty big deal. They like boo-boos at this age. So I told them there's no Band-Aid, there's no sympathy. They're just going to keep knocking you over. And I don't care if it happens 50 times. They're going to knock you over 50 times. Do you understand? Do not cut them off. It looks me in the eye. Yes, Dada. So we start our walk, and 10 or 15 or 20 minutes in, I'm thinking, man, I'm the best dad in the world. I'm a genius. He's not doing this anymore. This is wonderful, right? And so thought it was problem solved, but sure enough, we turn one of the corners and I can kind of see up ahead, and he just goes for it. And this is kind of Tyson. He waits until he thinks maybe we can't see, and he speeds up ahead of his sister and cuts her off. And sure enough, like I told her to, she plows through him on the scooter. And he gets knocked to the ground, and his knees scraped up a little bit and his arms scraped up a little bit. And he kind of looks stunned. And my daughter kind of looks back at me, and she's a little stunned and maybe like thinking, well, I think part of her probably kind of liked it. There was some pent up frustration there, right? Am I in trouble? And I said, Tinley, you're not in trouble. Good job. Keep riding. Keep having fun. So I kneel down next to Tyson after this and, get on his level. And he's, kind of shocked and kind of like, ow, it hurts. And I said, buddy, I told you what was going to happen. You make choices, and there's always a consequence for that choice. Now, I want you to get back up on your scooter, keep riding, and I want you to know if you cut him off again, this is going to happen again. Do you understand? I love you, buddy. But again, every choice you make has a consequence, whether that's good or bad. If you choose to cut them off, the consequence is you're going to get run into again, time and time again. Yes, Dada. So we continued to walk. He didn't do it again the rest of the time. And, talking to my wife after, I said, we'll see. Tyson's the kind of kid that maybe he needs to learn 10 times. I don't know. We've been on 50 walks since, and I haven't seen it one more time. So it seems like that has sunk in, and that sort of taught him a little bit. When my sons were a little younger, I did sort of the same thing. We'd take a couple toys up to the park, and there were times where, I'd be pushing him home in the stroller, and for whatever reason, they would throw a toy out of the stroller. And I'd always pick it up once, and I'd say, hey, If you throw this out again, dada's going to leave it for somebody else. It won't be your toy anymore. Again, you are making the choice to throw it out. The consequence is going to be you'll no longer have that toy. And they tested me a few times on this and they lost a few toys. And so I do think it's important as a dad or as a parent out there to teach your kids. Again, I believe my life is just, I'm a sum of my choices. You're going to have the kind of body that you have because of the choices and the food you put into it, how much movement you get, do you work out? You're going to have the kind of bank account you get because can you provide value and add value and work hard, study hard, all the things that you might need to do, right? I see way too many entitled, I sound really old saying this, but younger generation where they believe they can make choices that are negative and not have to pay a consequence for it. And I think that that happens when parents don't set the standard and make them and show them that there are consequences for your choices. If I just continue to let him do this and there's no consequence, well, he just keeps doing it. And so, I didn't like the fact that I had to watch my son get bowled over. I didn't like the fact that, my daughter looked really stunned. And I didn't like that what happened. He scraped up and didn't necessarily love seeing that as a parent. If I'm really honest with you and vulnerable, my heart sunk when I saw him hit the ground. I'm like, oh man, this could be bad, right? So, that's what happened. That was kind of the outcome. But again, I never say my way is the best. I've had some pretty smart people on social media maybe offer some different viewpoints. I'm excited to read back through those, but I love this community. I'm grateful for people who want to be here and just get better and share life and be great parents and things like that. So even if you're a grandparent and maybe you parented a long time ago, I would love your input on this story. I'm not a guy who entrenches and I'm not a guy who says my way is always the best way. I think that there's kids are unique. You have to take different approaches with different kids. I also think that, there's times where I'll just admit I'm wrong, or, maybe somebody gives me an alternate viewpoint. Hey, man, you probably could have tried this in between those and maybe seen if that, okay, maybe you're right. Next time I will do that. So I'm a guy that just wants to learn, get better. Again, I think, what we do from 5 to 9 when our kids are home every night is really our true legacy. And I believe that's my most important role, to be a really intentional dad and to raise great kids to go out and change the world too. So I'd love your take. And, thanks for listening to the story. I'd love to hear you guys' comments on this. So I appreciate you tuning in. You guys go have the greatest day of your life. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. Thanks again for tuning in. Have a blessed day.